One of the unintentional perks of having a YouTube channel is forming a catalog of your thoughts and ideas for all to see. But with this view, you start to notice some patterns throughout your work. This video was created for one of those pervasive thoughts, and that is, I think I'm a Capcom fan. This company has been hanging out of the park recently with some solid titles. Resident Evil 7, 8, and 2 Remake have been some of my most replayed games. DMC5 is a game I've played for years, and Dragon's Dogma has done things I always wanted to see in an RPG. And it's about time I revealed another piece of supporting evidence. I'm a Monster Hunter fan. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite for the PSP was my gateway to realizing how awesome this series is. Then clocking in about hundreds of hours with 3 Ultimate for the 3DS and Wii U, dabbling in the 3DS titles, and playing another 100 with Monster Hunter World and Iceborne, before leading up to now when Monster Hunter Rise was $15 for the Steam Summer Sale. I recently rolled the credits and wanted to take this opportunity to talk about Monster Hunter Rise and the series overall, as a fan who's played these games for years. If you've never played a Monster Hunter title, it would be my honor to show you this awesome series and this strange virtual connection across the internet we have going on. And for any veteran hunters who are checking out this video, thanks for stopping by. Now, hunters, grab a preferred weapon of choice and a hot or cool beverage as we take a look at Monster Hunter Rise. Oh, looks like someone else is excited too. Now, hunters, grab a preferred weapon of choice and a hot or cool beverage as we take a look at Monster Hunter Rise and the series as a whole. Monster Hunter Rise, much like other entries in the series, follows a standard setup. Your custom character is a hunter, and your job is to protect the village by going out and slaying powerful monsters. That's the game's hook in a nutshell. There's some other bits of lore from the Kamura village, but that's your pitch. You're a hunter, go kill stuff, have a great time. That may sound like a negative, but in this case, I don't think so. Monster Hunter is not a character study or a narrative-heavy RPG with branching storylines, but instead, the player-motivated desire to fight monsters, carve pieces off them to make stronger armor and weapons, to go fight stronger monsters, with or without your friends. For about a day or so, I wasn't sure how to structure this video. Originally, I was thinking of doing something similar to my others, fitting things into categories like gameplay, presentation, and some secret sauce of a third thing that's a solid emotional hook. But I'm not going to do that. The best way I can describe Monster Hunter is to expand on the appeal of this series. I'm going to walk you through the 3 stages of a hunt, expanding on certain aspects when it feels appropriate: the preparation, the hunt itself, and the post-hunt. And what I say here can be generally applied to all other mainline games. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. Let's rock and roll. The village of Kamura is your home base, full of people who want to help you get better at what you do. The start of this will boil down to a question. Are we doing this in multiplayer or solo? If it's the former, you'll be talking to Minoto in the Gathering Hub. These are the quests that are scaled for multiple people. You can hunt them with up to 3 other friends, making a total squad of 4. Though I can say that even if you're doing this with one other person, you'll be fine. But for this example, we'll be doing it solo. Next, we choose a quest. The more stars the quest, the tougher it's gonna be, and because I'm incredibly biased, I'm gonna pick the level 5 quest, Electrifying Epiphany, tasking myself and my NPC companions, my Palico Buster and Tadashi, a very good boy, to hunt down the Zinogre. Before we jump into the hunt, we need to get ourselves ready for prom. A prepared hunter is a great hunter. You can stock up on items like potions or other consumables at the general store. A lot of this stuff can be crafted or found in the wild, but there are some things that are just easier to buy, like a trap tool I'll explain more about later on. You can check your equipment in the item box. This can be changing your weapons to one of the 14 different weapon types, each with their own playstyles. I've recently been trying the hammer and having a great time, so I'll stick with that. Or swapping armors to allow a higher defense against certain elements. The Zinogre is a thunder-based monster, so in most cases, my Rathian armor is not a good fit. But 2 factors overrule that point. 1, it's my currently best overall defense, and 2, and the most important, I think it looks really cool, so I'm gonna keep it on. Now, before we head out, there's one crucial task we must commit to. Grab yourself a seat at the canteen, use whatever form of currency you prefer, and enjoy some dango. It doesn't matter if you're just a beginner or the most badass hunter of all time. A nutritious meal of dumplings and tea will give you a pep in your step, boosting your health and stamina during a hunt, and possibly giving skills depending on what dongo you choose to stack. It also comes with a song too. For all the coolness of hunting monsters in these games, there's this goofy positivity that's a strong point in this series' identity. From the enthusiasm of the villagers, to the companions that are just cats and dogs, to stuff like this where the game makes a song to prepare food. They even give you a camera so you could take goofy pictures to show to your friends and adoring fans. I call this one the girl boss, the dance class, the cool dudes, and one of my favorites, the excited vacationer. With a twist. Alright, I'm just goofing around right now. Look at the time!
This party's getting crazy. Let's rock!
When you first enter in, you're gonna notice there's some ground to cover from your arrow to what you hope is your target. While you're traveling, you're gonna notice creatures and plants spaced around the map. One of the coolest things about the Monster Hunter games is how the regions you explore are more than just arenas to fight, but places with an ecosystem unique to the region. From Monster Hunter World onward, there's been an expansion to the regions themselves, and if you can utilize the environment to your advantage, you'll have an additional tool in your arsenal. This could be gathering items for weapon and armor upgrades, items to replenish your consumables, such as gathering herbs to make more potions if you run out, or combining a potion with honey to make mega potions, or even interacting with plants and animals to give yourself buffs like more damage or reduced stamina depletion. And add on top of these incentives to explore, in addition to having your Pollymacho dash you across the map, a wire bug that's a grappling hook, and the ability to run on walls. You can also find cool routes to get to your target. And now it's time to talk about what happens when you and the monster lock eyes. Fighting a creature is where the magic happens. The game features action combat, so you can attack when you feel like it, but so can they. Your goal is to kill them before they kill you. But what makes it really fun is the variety of factors that play into it. Whichever weapon you pick will have different strengths and weaknesses in combat. For example, my hammer can do some great damage, but to pull off the really crunchy numbers, I need time to charge it or lead up to a certain combo, and the monster might not be on board with holding still when I try pulling these off. The large monsters in this game are so cool. There's no other word I can think that does them service as cool does. Design-wise, they're a blending of fantastical, mythological elements in their look, in addition to a realistic physicality. For example, check out the Tobikadachi. It looks like a cool lizard that shoots lightning, but that same creature can glide in the air like a flying squirrel with a membrane under its arms. The excitement of encountering monsters, seeing how they fight and act, is something that never gets old when playing these games, or even seeing monsters from previous entries come back, only to have you make a cool realization in their designs. With that said, it's time to focus on the Zinogre. The Zinogre is shockingly cool. Thank you. For real though, their design is so sick, with an emphasis on teal and yellow for its color scheme, communicating to the player this is a lightning-based monster. It's pretty big and also really quick. It can jump around the area, slamming its claws into the ground, varying from 1 to a few times in one go, even throwing its tail into you. But one of the coolest moves that has refused to leave my subconscious ever since being obliterated by it in Monster Hunter 3rd Ultimate is the move where they breakdance. No, seriously. They have this move where they place their weight into one of their arms, throw themselves upward, using their tail as a way to reach opponents, before hurling themselves into the air, doing a flip, then sticking the landing like a gymnast going for the gold at the Olympics. And, for the record, that's a 10-point landing. Nicely done, Japan. The Zinogre's moveset will keep you on your toes. There's a reason the game throws this monster at you after you roll credits. An opportunity to attack the Zinogre is when they start charging up. You'll see specks of blue collecting around it. If it charges long enough, it will enter in a raged mode with blue electricity shooting out, and the Zinogre looks like they're ready to kill. Its attacks are now imbued with thunder that can paralyze unless you come prepared with nullberries. And while rereading the wiki to make sure I knew what I was talking about here, I had one of those cool revelations with a creature I'd known from previous entries. The Zinogre can't actually produce electricity, instead relying on a symbiotic relationship with thunderbugs that cluster around it. They're the blue specks that cling onto the Zinogre when it charges. And a neat feature is if you can down the monster for a bit, you can pick the bugs off their back for crafting gear. Okay, so as I've been talking, I've been dodging swipes and getting my hits in from the Zinogre. It's time for another factor. Those horns look pretty cool, right? What do you say we break them? When hunting a monster, you can break parts off the creature, providing more rewards upon the quest's completion and a cool visual indicator at how much damage you've done. Back in the day, I was really good at cutting off the tails of monsters with my longsword or greatsword, but with a bludgeoning weapon, it's been a wee bit tricky to pull off. Breaking parts feels like you're wearing a monster down and adds another layer of cool factor. Fighting monsters is cool. Fighting monsters that reflects how deadly you are as a hunter is even cooler. This, combined with the sound design of monsters' roars and breaking parts, makes this so fun. It's like the game is acting as your hype man. Remember when I mentioned how these regions have their own ecosystem? With that ecosystem, dynamics twist and change, including which monsters decide to show up. If two large monsters show up in the same location, oh baby, it's time for a smackdown and you get a front row seat. It captures the joy of watching dinosaurs fight on TV or reenacting with a friend in the backyard. There's a humbling feeling in two large monsters just beating each other up that makes you realize how small you are in the grand scheme of things, in addition to a sense of awe in being in the presence of something so cool. If you see this symbol on a monster, well, feel free to add pilot to your skill set because you can now control the monster to smack the other one, or launch it into a straight line and topple it over. This isn't always a guarantee another monster will stop by, so cherish the opportunities when they occur. We've been at this fight for a good bit. There's been some back and forth, dodging and attacking, drinking potions when I dodge poorly, I'm almost out of potions, run across the map and feature some guest stars. The Zinogre is weakened. And now we have two options of how this can go down. We can either continue using brute force on the creature until it's dead, where we can carve pieces off before the quest ends. Or, if you remember that trap tool I brought, we can create a pitfall trap, locking the Zinogre into the ground, throwing down 2 tranquilizer bombs, and that's all she wrote. When you capture a monster, it ends the hunt quicker, and while you can't carve pieces off them, you have a higher chance of getting certain materials for crafting. For one of my capture attempts, I was blessed with a Zinogre plate, a rare material to help make the chest piece for the set. But whichever you choose, the quest is complete. You've hunted a monster, and now it's time to reap the rewards. You'll be taken to a screen showing the materials you got in progress on certain bars. Then, save your game, and you've done it. You've completed a hunt. Now, before you wrap up your first run of the cycle, it's time to check out what you can make. If we pay a visit to the blacksmith, we can see what weapons and armor we can make, showing the requirements to make certain pieces and the skills they provide. And if you're lacking those requirements and want that sweet armor set, it's time to do it again. You see, that's the core of Monster Hunter Rise and the series as a whole. It's that journey of fighting cool monsters, either ones you met before or new additions like this awesome looking guy, making yourself stronger, then doing it again. And if you got friends to play it with, oh man, it's even better. Picture all those cool factors I mentioned, but add that in with your buds or strangers on the internet along for the ride. I've been doing the Gathering Hub quests with my brother, and those hunts are easily the most fun times with the game. Point is, Monster Hunter is really fun. I know there are so many other bits I didn't even mention, especially with this particular title. But I hope I could articulate the core joy of what makes this series so fun and why I spend time with it. It's that sense of discovery at fighting an awe-inspiring creature, getting better and doing it again, working towards a goal of making your character stronger, sharing that progression with your friends, and doing that for as long as you're interested is what makes this series a great time. At least to me. Maybe you'll enjoy it in a similar way, or in a way that's entirely different. Regardless, thanks for watching, and if you give any of these Monster Hunter games a shot, have a wonderful time. Take care of yourself, dear viewer, drink plenty of water, and I'll see you around. Adios.